We're presenting now.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and start with introductions while you guys are getting settled over there. So I'm the moderator for today's session. I'm actually one of the panelists also, so double duty today. I'm Wilma Hodges, and I just want to introduce my other lovely panelists here. We have Dee Dee Hurricane and Louisa Lee from Marist College. Dee Dee is the Senior Support Specialist at Marist College. She's also a member of the Sakai PMC. She's a co-chair of the Sakai QA Committee, a 2017 Apereo Fellow as well. She has a BS in Integrative Studies and is pursuing her Master's in Integrative Marketing and Communications. Louisa is an instructional designer at Marist College. She's an active member of the Teaching and Learning Group in the Apereo community, and she has served as chair of the Apereo Teaching and Learning Awards, or the Atlas Awards, since fall 2015. And we also have Neil Caden, who's the Apereo Foundation Sakai Community Coordinator. He has a background in higher education, project management, and community and communications. And as I mentioned, I'm Wilma Hodges. I'm the Director of Training and E-Learning Initiatives at Longsight. I'm an Apereo Fellow, a PMC member. I have a Master's in Tech Writing and an EDD in Instructional Technology and Distance Education. So I see that Louisa has her PowerPoint up, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Let me just make a note that this is a birds of a feather, a BOF session. So it's intended to be more of a conversation. So we're going to be, posing some questions and starting some, topics, but we really want people to participate. So if you have a microphone, feel free to chime in. If you want to share your webcam, feel free to share your webcam. So we want to make this very interactive. So go ahead, Louisa.
All right. Okay, so as Wilma said, this is a birds of feather. So just in case you don't get it, I use a feather background. Okay, so introductions all around. We already talked about who we are. So would you let us know who you are? I think I recognize some of the names, but not all of you. Would you tell us who you are and where you're from? Yes. Is there anyone who wants to unmute yourself and speak?
I just unmuted, Louisa. Can you hear me?
Hey. Yes.
It's Lori Garvin. I'm from Loyola University, Chicago. Let me see. When did we join Sakai Apereo? 2013, I think, was when we went into production. We had a pilot before that. And we're hosted by Longsight.
Oh, fantastic. 2014.
Yeah, 2013. Actually.
2013.
Yeah.
2013. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to mute myself.
Yes. Next. All right.
All right, I'm Christina Schwiebert. I'm Northwest State.
Oops.
We lost you.
We lost you. Oh, here we
There
go.
she
Hi.
is. Hi, Christina.
So we're also hosted by Longsight, and I don't remember when we started Sakai.
Long time ago.
When we finally got rid of WebCT.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
I also have an introduction in the chat, by the way. I see some.
Sean?
Hi, this is Sean Platt from Roger Williams University in Bristol, Rhode Island. Let's see, we've been with Longsight for a few years, but we've been with Sakai since 2009, I believe. So I enjoy these conferences every year, the virtual conference, and of course the ones that we have in June, and looking forward to the one in Montreal that's coming next year. So it's great to see everybody, and this is a great community.
Nice. Thank you, Sean. All right. Janice?
Hi, this is Janice Smith. I live in Minnesota, but I'm in Rockport, Maine right now. I have been associated with Sakai since 2003, and I'm in the portfolio community. I serve as a lead for the Karuta project.
Thank you.
In the chat, I see that Michelle posted from University of Virginia
Oh, yes.
that they're having a watch party over there. Hi,
Oh,
hi watch party.
Hi, everybody.
Yes. We do the same. We do the same. Okay. So next up will be Tiffany. Hi.
Hi, Tiffany.
Muted. You're muted. You're muted.
Can't hear ya.
Sorry.
Okay. We're good.
Hi, Tiffany from UVA also. I don't know when did we start? 2008? I always get this wrong. Michelle?
The very beginning, maybe?
I don't think it was the very beginning of Sakai, but it was pretty early at UVA.
Indeed, indeed. Yeah. Did we miss anybody else? All right.
Hi.
So we're set? Okay. Okay, so this session, we try to discuss how the community has worked over the years. So I'm going to show you our chart. Don't be alarmed, okay? So the truth about online communities. So basically, usually there's 5% of people are conversing and active, okay? This is just a human nature. I got this chart from a study on the community of practice. So basically it applies to all types of communities. So this data has been confirmed by people who studied MOOC. So they look at the MOOC's participation and basically around the same percentage. So around 5 or 7 people are usually participating and completing the data, completing the course. So you can see the data indicates if it's above 10%, it's a really great MOOC because that's just human nature. Only 5% or 7% of people participating. So community obviously is really important. And I look at some other communities. For example, this is a code from Drupal. They are also open source, right? They also recognize community are really the key of open source community. And that's how the open source software live. So I'm thinking, you know, how Sakai community lives. And we have so many different types of people. I think I recognize many of us here wear many hats. You know, for myself, I am an agile faculty. I do support. I'm an instructional designer. And I test sometimes, even though I don't develop, I do provide QA testing, right? So how do we work? So this is some screenshots I got. So I guess Neil has a better understanding of this, how this Alyssa works, right? Do you want to say a few words?
Sure.
I read all the time, but you
Sure.
probably manage a lot better.
Yeah, we have a lot of lists. Our most active lists are probably Sakai Development and Sakai Users Group. When I joined as the community coordinator, we actually had many, many more lists, but not all of them were being used. So it was confusing to know where to go to get what you needed. So we've consolidated them down, and the main lists are Sakai Development and Sakai Users Group. Sakai Users Group is more functional discussions about the tool and new features or how things work, and Sakai Development is how do I get, you know, Sakai working, or how do I optimize the performance. We also have a Sakai, and it's also about developing, you know, actually developing for Sakai, making code changes. Is this the right approach? Is this the right kind of library to use? We also have a Sakai production list for those folks who are mainly just concerned with, you know, running and optimizing and tweaking Sakai. So we still have a variety of lists, and we do have, which I probably should have put on here, we have a page in our Sakai wiki that has a list of all the different communication channels, all the different lists, describes what the different lists, who tends to use them. We also have, including Slack, which has become very popular for real-time communications. We have an Apereo Slack channel, and we get up to between 500 to 1,000 messages a week on that channel. And most of them are actually direct messages. So people use it a lot to communicate with each other in the community, to find each other in real time and ask quick questions and have discussions. So, so a lot of different communication channels that are out there for us.
One thing I'll mention real quick before we kind of go on to some of the other ways that we interact as a group, we do get a lot of what a lot of times here called lurkers on the lists, and we kind of thought that was sort of a negative term because lurking can be good. A lot of times people kind of hang out and see what's going on before they begin contributing. So what we preferred was another term that we found, which was called vicarious learners. So you're no longer a lurker, you're a vicarious learner if you're just kind of in there and checking out the landscape. But I do recognize several names from those of you on this call, so I know you've already participated in some of those listservs. But we really encourage people, faculty, even if they're not actively involved with development or QA, sometimes it's nice to subscribe to just maybe the announcements list to get just sort of general information.
Yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah, we have an Apereo announcements list which covers a lot of Sakai stuff and also giving you a broader view into Apereo as a whole as well. And it's not a very heavily trafficked list, so and there's also a newsletter that's good to subscribe to as well to get like an overview of things going on.
Yeah, I think usually you play different roles in different circles. For example, I'm very active in the teaching and learning calls, right? So I'm active in that circle. But when it comes to the development and, the dev teams, I'm totally a lurker. I just don't usually understand what you guys are talking about. So no shame, I'm a lurker on the development team.
You're a vicarious learner.
Oh,
yeah, vicarious learner, Louisa.
Okay, so this is another very active team we have in the community. So we have now a new thing called Easy QA. So Didi, you want to say a few things about that?
Sure. When we look at how people join the community and some of the ways that would make it easier for people not to be so overwhelmed, like Louisa said, with all the technical details and stuff, the QA community came together, especially Neil, thank you, Neil, to build out an easier way for people who are new or a little uncomfortable with the technology to find the steps to begin to do QA, which is a really needed item in our community. Always having good software, the only way to guarantee that is to quality assurance test it. And in this case, Neil and I and the whole team created a Sakai QA12 hub of all the links, all the easy ways that everyone can join us in doing this. We meet up every Thursday for test fests. So together we all work and get either one thing done or maybe make a plan for the day of what we want to get accomplished, a particular tool to be tested. And Easy QA is one of the areas where everything's been condensed and put in place so no one has to go looking for what they have to fix, but it's now able to go right there and start it. Neil, you want to chime in on that?
I actually do, because you said something like that it was you and me who did this, and you said, and the whole team. Actually, it was me and Didi. But there's an important point behind that. And the important point, we sometimes have really, really active members in QA, but then things change over time or temporarily, and people have to rush off and kind of do their local, local institutional stuff comes up for them, and they aren't able to participate in the same way, or they have to take a break for a while and then come back. And that's also, I think, an important piece of understanding why it's so valuable that people can jump in, and that it's okay to jump in and out of the community as your needs change and your institutional needs change. I think that's a really important thing for people to be aware of. So just because you join doesn't mean you're committed for your lifetime. It just means we really appreciate whatever it is you have to contribute in this moment. And really, I can tell you from firsthand experience that one person, can make a huge difference, doing a little bit of Sakai documentation and helping relieve the pressure from Wilma, who does a lot of that help.
Thank you, Wilma.
And doing a piece of QA and taking a tool or two or helping on one of the more complex tools is a huge, huge help and helps increase the speed and quality at which we can get releases out. So I just saw that as an opportunity to mention that, how important it is for people to be aware that it's okay to be a vicarious learner, and it's okay to jump in, and it's okay to jump out. It's sort of like the hokey pokey.
It's a very organically growth community, right? Everything just happened for a reason, but I just cannot help to think, is there a pattern, how usually we behave, so we designed a couple of poll questions to ask you guys, how you get here and what you have done, and how active you are and how you intend to stay,
All right, I'll launch the poll.
Yeah, shall we start on that poll?
All right, so I'm launching it now, and the co-hosts can't vote, so I don't. Unless you want me to demote you, I can demote you, and you can vote if you like.
I'm fine. I can vote. Okay.
So it's up to the rest of you to carry the vote here. Give it another couple seconds.
Mm-hmm.
You can select more than one, by the way. All right. Is everybody voted?
All right.
Yeah? All right. So I'm going to end polling, and let's share out those results. So is everybody seeing the results?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, it looks like job requirement was the leader there, because that is, a way that a lot of us get involved with Sakai. I mean, I know for me personally, I was involved with distance learning, and all of our distance learning courses use the LMS, and that's kind of how I got into Sakai. So a lot of times that you're brought to the community through your job, whatever that might be. But it looks like there's also quite a few people that were just curious about what the community does. So, that's a big, 45%, that's almost half. So that's also a big.
Yeah. Now I'm curious, what is the other reasons?
Louisa, it's Lori. Yeah. I'll jump in here. I guess I suppose I could have said both job requirement and curious. I clicked it and clicked submit and didn't realize you guys had we could check more than one. But
sorry, I should have warned you sooner.
Yeah, no, it's okay. But initially it was, I suppose it was curiosity and other. We were on Blackboard and I was so sick of it. Sorry, I should be bad-mouthing other things, but we were tired of it, and I'd always been interested in open source, and so I just started looking around, and saw Sakai and saw Moodle, and at that time one of my colleagues was interested in it as well, so we kind of started looking at it, and then about 3 years later, after we actually talked it up quite a bit ourselves, the two of us, at meetings, and 3 years later we got this request from our CIO to start looking at open source. We were like, wow, okay. I don't know if we directly influenced that. I mean, there were a number of other factors. I think she was tired of Blackboard as well. But the fact that we had actually looked, the fact that we had actually looked, and also that at that point it was the case that we could be hosted. I think that was a huge deal. So that's kind of how I got involved. So I guess I'm three things: job requirement, I was curious, and sort of this other thing, being sick of another product. I think that was the catalyst. And also being sick of a for-profit provider. We were just kind of, I was done with it, and so was my colleague. So there you
go. Okay.
Anybody else want to share?
Yeah.
No other takers?
Now we have more poll questions.
Yeah, you want to go to the next one?
Yeah.
All right. There we go. All right, so our second question is, why did you stay? So once you were exposed to the community, what helped you here? Why do you keep participating and keep lurking and
Not lurking, not lurking.
not lurking. Keep
Not lurking.
vicariously learning.
Vicariously learning, right.
Yep, yep.
I think we need something that trips off the tongue a little better than vicarious learner, right?
I know, it's hard
That's
to
a
say.
hard
It's a mouthful.
Yeah. We can call them Vikings, vicarious learners. Vikings.
There you go. Yeah. You can get little hats, Viking hats.
Amy thinks that's a good idea too.
Yeah.
Maybe we should vote on
Yeah, sure.
that.
All right, anybody else want to vote? Remember, you can select more than one. Okay, I'm going to end polling. And let's share these results.
Wow.
It helps me do my job
Very
better.
cool.
Wow,
Very
that's really
strong
cool.
Contender there, followed closely by I like the people here, and so I'd have to say those are a couple of my favorites. The people in the community. I mean, the community is the people, right? And there's a lot of really great people in the community, and it's just fun to work with you guys. So I think that's, for me personally, a really big motivator to stay involved. I think also for the greater good is a really important thing, because it is open source and it is education, and you kind of feel like you're contributing to a worthwhile cause. So I think that's an important thing for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah, many times I've been amazed by the community downpouring support and the contribution. One day we're thinking, what if we have a attendance tool? And we look around, there is one. So they just freely shared with the community. I'm just amazed. And also, I don't know if any of you remember how the Morpheus came out. I mean, it was just one person, and he thought, why don't we have a better interface? And he just did it himself, right? Then, obviously, he's not with us in the community anymore. But I still remember how he thought, he could do it, and he just did it, for the greater good, and he's contributing. It's not because, someone paid him to do it. I was always amazed. I've been always amazed about this. Yeah, thank you so much for everyone who is helping, contributing in the community. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Anybody else want to share on this one?
So I'm not picking up on anybody, but we have someone picking. My boss told me to stay. That's actually a reality. I'm just put it there because that definitely happens sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
That's reality.
So for example, Neil, your boss told you to stay.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he might have problems if I didn't stay.
Yeah, I could see there might be a conflict of interest there.
Yeah, I am the only paid full-time staff that works in Sakai. I'm the only one in the whole community, right? So that's my full-time job. Nobody else is doing that. Of course, the success of my job, the way I see it, is empowering the community, making people feel like they are welcome, helping them get the tools to participate, because that's, one person obviously cannot manage Sakai. It's a big project and has a lot of moving parts. So I really appreciate everything everybody does, because without it, I would not succeed in my job. I would not be able to succeed. It'd be impossible. So I have a huge appreciation for everything everybody does. And that's why I also really encourage, hey, even do a little thing, because that little thing is really appreciated. Or you might think it's little, but it might be a bigger contribution than you think.
Next one, we have 2 more, I think.
Yep. All right, so what is the biggest hurdle preventing you from participating more?
Not enough swag.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got my t-shirt on too. Anybody else got their t-shirt on? No?
It makes a lot of sense what the results I'm seeing come in. We got about half the people voting so far.
Wow, the results are very clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
look at
Yeah.
that.
It's not surprising. I totally get that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I get it. I sympathize.
We'll share those results so you can see what we're talking about in just a second.
Yeah. Last call. All right, ending polling.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's pretty clear that time commitment is the #1 reason why people don't participate more, and that, like Neil said, makes total sense. You know, we all have other, you know, things that we do, other hats that we wear, local considerations at our institution or organization, and you know, you have to juggle sometimes. So that makes total sense. The second most selected item here, it's quite a bit lower than time, is don't feel I have enough to contribute. And, you know, that's something I think we can improve upon, because I think everybody has something to contribute.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it doesn't matter your expertise level. There is a way you can help. And it could be, you know, very low key. It could be, you know, more technical, depending on how, you know, comfortable you are with certain, you know, software or code or whatever. But there's participation opportunities at every level, from, you know, a complete newbie all the way up to an advanced developer. So I don't think that people should hold back thinking that they don't have anything worthwhile, because everybody does.
Yeah. In this community, even if you just ask a question you don't know the answer to, that's contributing, right? It's not about you provide answers or you develop code. It's about you raise a question and you look into something. For example, the other day, just a couple of days ago, I think Tiffany probably remember, a faculty asked me, how come they cannot add attachment in the question, in the tests and quizzes? I was like, you can add attachment. So I didn't know myself. I'm ashamed. So I look into it. Yes, there's a way that you can add attachment, but the system was not consistent. You can add it in one place, not the other, right? So then I look further, and we actually dig it out, Jira tickets in there, and describing the exact problem. And we were glad the problem wasn't just left there, and someone actually did QA and registered in the Jira tickets. So, you know,
there's two sides to that, right?
Okay.
Because if you ask a question of the community and you make it public, and even though it's kind of embarrassing because I ask these things too, and I don't know, but the big thing is somebody goes, oh wow, I didn't know that, and they learn from you, and all they've done is vicariously learned that there was a problem that they didn't know about, and asking those questions is so critical, because I don't want to. Like Louisa slacked me. She's like, do you have the answer to this? I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So, but we both felt silly, but we could talk to each other. But she just as easily talked to the community. And that is the greatest part about this community, is everyone counts. Even a question counts, because somebody else might not know the answer to.
Yeah, it's possible you're contributing already and you didn't even know it, because maybe you've already asked a question and you just didn't even see it as a contribution.
Yeah, just ask a question. You know, don't worry how dumb it is. It's not dumb. If it's a question, it should be answered. Yeah, totally. Okay, but we have also a couple of people saying others. Are there bigger hurdles that we are not aware of? Or something, anyway, that's something we didn't put in the poll questions. Anyone? You can unmute yourself.
A couple seconds, yeah. Give them a couple seconds.
You can type it into the chat if you like.
Yeah.
My reason for choosing other is just not knowing how or when to get started doing more than just answering an occasional question in the mailing list.
Oh,
okay.
I don't like fumbling around lost and looking like I don't know where I'm going or what I'm supposed to be doing.
Oh.
So what would help with that, do you think? What could we do, for example? Like, what could I do, or what could we do to help with that? to make it
I
easier.
don't know if it's possible to even assign like a QA mentor, someone who can help just show you the ropes, how to do everything.
Okay.
We have hands raising over here.
Yeah,
QA mentors volunteering.
I do that all the time, actually. Cool.
One of the suggestions that I have for contribution is we have a lot of working groups. So we have different meetings during the week. We have things like the accessibility working group, the documentation working group. And you can just join one of these groups, join one of the meetings, check it out. And you can communicate with people that way, learn about what other institutions are doing and other groups are doing, and maybe contribute like a little bit of documentation or a little bit of QA, something like that can be a big help.
Yeah, and that reminds me that we have a Sakai calendar, which I really should have published in one or more of these slides, and I can certainly add to it. We have an HTML version, so if you don't remember when the meetings are, we have an iCal version, so if you want to subscribe and have Sakai and Apereo events show up on your calendar, you can do that. Of course, you probably also see emails going out. We try and remind people over Slack and email and Twitter. So hopefully, there's some way that will help you to remember, what's going on when.
If you go to the conference sessions page, I put the 2 links in there. So first link is the Sakai conference page. You can find a list of all our listservs. The second link is the calendar.
Where's this? I'm sorry.
It's on the Sakai Virtual Conference, our sessions page.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're
posted
right
that.
next to the presentation.
Yeah, right.
There's a copy of these slides if you want them. If you go to the session page, there's a link to the discussion forum from there.
Yeah. And also, I also recommend, that's actually our last slides in this presentation. We have another session on community updates. I think it will give you valuable information about how to join these sub-communities. Beyond looking at the emails, you can find many different ways to participate.
Yeah, I'll give you a sense of what the different groups do. So, and that might be of interest as well, and who can participate in those groups.
And just on one note, the time commitment, that's everyone's challenge. That's one of the reasons we did easy QA, because there are smaller ways that you can help, and these are more compact QA.
Yeah. Okay, so we have
So
last
I'm going
poll.
to move, to the last poll because we have about 6 minutes left. So, so what have you gained by being in the community? I know a lot of people, make new connections. They learn new tips. They get to participate in ways, show leadership skills that they may not have an outlet for doing locally. Again, you can select as many as you like. Give people just another second or two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the results are also very clear.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end polling.
Mm-hmm.
And we can see 100% of us that are you. Since I didn't vote. I probably would have selected this had I voted, but technical tips and tricks. So, somebody else is always doing something that you can learn from, right? So being active in the community, you pick up a lot just through osmosis. So, so that's very cool. And then networking was also the second most selected answer there. And that's, I think, huge for a lot of people because I know for me, one of the things that I love the most about working with Sakai and working with the community is that I get to meet so many people from so many different institutions all over the world. I mean, that's pretty cool. You don't always get that with other learning management systems or other things, not necessarily learning management systems. So I just think that's a really nice perk myself.
I'm very glad somebody got a new job because being in the community. Congratulations.
Yeah, congrats, whoever that was.
I personally learned a lot of leadership skills because due to my position, I'm not on the management team in my full-time job. So I'm always in what they say, lead without authority, right? So that's a fancy term I learned the other day, lead without authority. So,
Yeah.
you know, but still you learn this valuable leadership skills in this position, you know, how to communicate and collaborate in this open source education community. So I really
believe the Atlas group, Louisa, doesn't the Atlas group need some leadership help right now?
Yeah, you want to join? Yes.
Why don't you pitch the Atlas group, and then I see Josh.
I'm recruiting, actively recruiting members for Atlas.
Tell a little bit about Atlas, and then I see. Well, you can think of your pitch, and I see that Josh has a comment. And it says, "I wonder how we might actively help people gain leadership skills via the community that might pay off for individuals and for the community as we grow and evolve." Yeah,
definitely.
Of having a little more structure or intention around it. It happens naturally in a lot of areas, but maybe there is a way of doing that. And I was half kidding, Lisa, because I know we need people for Atlas, and we'll certainly be pitching that in the other community presentation, but I thought I'd give you extra airtime.
Yes, thank you so much.
What that is.
I need 30 seconds more. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. We just have a time crunch here, but maybe we have 1 minute for one more comment from the group. What are the other things you have gained?
Personally,
yeah. Tiffany. Yes.
Yeah, I've learned a lot about accessibility, and especially from the folks at Illinois State, some really interesting stuff that they're doing with QA and stuff. So.
Well, I have to say I learned a lot from UVA on accessibility. You guys have a session one time, and you shared the document you created. So thank you so much. I don't think I ever thank you probably enough. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. And actually, that document is in the session description for the accessibility presentation today. So you can get a Sakai version of it now.
Yeah.
New version.
Thank you.
All right, well, I'll close out the poll. So I don't know if there's any other slides you want to show, Louisa?
Yeah, I think there are only 2 more
left, so I'm going to keep you guys on the clock here.
Yeah, because I've got a presentation I'm doing right after this one, so I got to leave immediately.
Yes, I'm just wrapping up here. So this is a metaphor I found in a very fantastic book called Cathedral and the Bazaar. They're talking about Linux and other open source, but I think this metaphor really applies to Sakai. So they have 2 things. Cathedral is top-down method, and Bazaar is bottom-up. I think Sakai is this bazaar community. So everybody walking around and doing things together. You know, one day maybe you go to buy something, but you could be intrigued and you sell your own stuff, right? So you could vicariously learn, you walk around and doing things but one day you just chat up with somebody who has the clothesline there, and you eventually join them. I mean, there's many things could happen in the bazaar. So I think this community is really, really interesting. You know, besides the technical tips we share every day, I think sometimes it is important to look into how this community works so that we possibly find more people and get more people to participate. So looking forward, I hope that we can find out, you know, how we can attract more people, and maybe we get more people to participate in more ways. You know, we have so many different types of people. So based on the poll results, I guess, you know, sometimes it's just human nature. You're curious. You want to find new things. You want to do something good, right? So I'm very glad you guys came today. And I hope that you could participate in the community update session at 2:15 and 2:55. I think most of us will be there. And also look up our email list and also calendar with all those meeting dates and time. All right, I'm good on time.
You're just over, so we're
We're
going to have
over
to
it.
wrap
Oh,
up.
sorry.
So I'm going,
Yeah, I
No.
was letting you finish. But gonna have to cut you off.
Okay.
So thank you, everyone. It was a great conversation, and I hope to see you guys in lots of other sessions today.
Thanks to all of you.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.